Hey, well, listen, once again, welcome aboard. I'm Rob again back here. We're having a great time flying this Stearman. You will love this airplane, and you'll realize why they built 10,000 plus of these airplanes, actually 10,346 of these things. The takeoff procedure is really actually kind of simple. You know, obviously, no, you can't see over the nose, but the idea is on this is you want to look straight ahead and focus on infinity, and when you do so, you're going to start seeing these little white runway markers going by. What you don't want to do is start looking left and looking right, because the airplane will go that way. And then what I want you to do is just keep the stick in neutral, which is just about where it's at right now. And when you bring the power on in, with the especially with the headwind that we have, the tail is going to come off the ground pretty quick. When the tail comes off the ground, she's telling you it's ready to fly. So just get it off the ground, let it accelerate in ground effect, parallel to the ground to 75, and then we bring the power back, and off we go. And it happens really slowly, so I'll kind of talk you through it, but it's not a big deal.
Okay.
So she's yours. Whenever you're ready, just make sure your heels are on the floorboards and nothing bad can happen. Let's go fly. There you go. Hold her right there. Here comes the tail, starting to get light, coming off the ground. Ready to fly. Bring that nose on up and away you go. Great job. And there's 75. We'll bring the power back to about 1850, 1825, right around in there. Nice job. That's good right there. Gets off the ground pretty quick.
Yeah.
And it is really nice evening to fly. Nice and smooth up here.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah. Here's a little air show smoke for whoever's left down there. My wife got me the smoke for Christmas last year. Best gift I've ever got in my life.
All right.
I could push a black button and make white smoke. Are you kidding me? That's a dream come true. Let's make a left-hand turn here, JR. There's a open pit mine right off your left wing over here. And if you fly over that, that'll keep you away from Polk City over here. And then ultimately we'll go out to our practice area out here to the northwest.
Looks like it rain over there.
Yeah, a little rain. Let's see what it does. You can now see why they put 450 horsepower in these things. You know, with 450 horsepower in the constant speed propeller, it really performed well. However, here's the bad part. Now you're going from 12 gallons an hour to 25 gallons an hour, and they don't give you any more fuel capacity in it. So that pad on the top of your headset, if your hat starts moving around, just move it a little bit farther forward, it'll keep it on. So if you have a 450 Stearman, and you fly it, you have about an hour and a half of range, and that's it. So and you're not going that much faster than what we are going now. Now, right ahead of you, you're going to see there's a road that you're going to cross over the top of, and that road is a north-south road. The Mode C Veil actually is off our right wing right now, about 200 feet. It comes up and touches that road ahead of us. So we're going to do all our air work out here to the west, which is a great place because it's all open fields up here. And how about we'll just keep the climb. We'll go on up to about 1,300 feet or so. And we'll work our way down from there. So if you'd like to do some climbing turns out here as we head on up, feel free. And again, you'll notice you don't have to use any rudder to go right, or no rudder to go left, but a little bit to go right. And there's a little grass airstrip right down below you down there.
On the left side?
Yeah, look right down off your right down here.
Oh, I see it.
Okay.
Down
There. Let's make a left-hand turn. We'll head on out here to our grassy area. Now you can see why I like flying out here. It's all open fields.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Beautiful. And so once you get to 1,300 feet, we'll level out there. It's plenty high. Don't worry about trying to maintain altitude unless that's something that you want to challenge yourself with. You're in a Stearman today. There's nothing precise about flying this plane, and we're out here to have some fun.
Right.
I'll tell you a couple of things that you're going to want to know. As far as we'll start you off doing some like 45-degree angle of bank turns. If you look directly ahead of the windscreen, you're going to see those wires there. Those wires are at a 45-degree angle right now to the horizon. And so if they're parallel with the horizon and a little above, that's what we're looking for. Nice. There we are, 1,300 feet. We'll level out here. Bring the power back, if you don't mind, to about, I don't know, 1,800 is fine. Cool.
Oh, we're at 18.
Yeah, we're fine. 1750 to 18. We're going to do some steep turns here, so you can have, if you want to have a little bit more power, that's fine. Hey, let's do a 360 to the left. Perfect. Now, what you'll notice here, you're actually at a little bit of a disadvantage here because you're sitting on the CG with a Stearman. So, you know, with the rudder input, you actually have to rely on looking at the ball. When you solo this plane, you solo it from back here, and you can really feel the airplane yawing left and right because you're sitting about 5 feet behind the CG.
Yeah. Okay.
Beautiful. And we'll do one to the right. You'll notice you have to use a little right rudder. You might want to bring the power in just a little touch more. There you go. Nice. Perfect. Right on the money.
The engine's not responding to throttle very much.
Yeah, you can push it. There we go. There's 17. Beautiful. All right, I'll tell you what, let's roll out of this. Let's try a 60-degree angle of bank. The only way to know what 60 degrees is you go back to the 45, and you have to guess what 15 degrees is beyond that. So let's just, we're in a right-hand turn, just crank it a little steeper. Let's try a 60 degree. There you go. And around you go. Rolling on out. Oh, try one to your left. Did you hear? Did you feel that little clunk? You know what that was? When you pulled the stick, when you pulled the G's, the wheels went all the way against the stop.
Oh.
I like to tell people that so they don't think the thing's falling apart. Nice. Beautiful job. Super job. We'll roll it on out here, JR. Nice steep turn. Now, back in World War II, the maneuver that they had you to learn how to do is actually a 70-degree angle of bank turns, 360 left, 360 right, which is just about a full power maneuver. And you're gonna just about ready. You'll start. There's a stall right there. So rolling on out. Did you feel it stall?
Yeah.
Stall ready to stall?
Yeah.
So we'll head on back up a little higher. So you notice when it stalled, you know, it didn't do anything crazy. It didn't pay off, didn't snap roll. The only time this thing will do anything nutty is when you stall it when the ball's way outside like any other airplane you've flown. It'll snap roll, but of course that's what you're telling the airplane you want it to do is snap roll. So the lazy eights, let's try a lazy eight. This next one, we'll go to the left. You're familiar with that?
Yeah, familiar, but it's a long time.
The way I do them, we'll roll out here. And here's the key on the lazy eights. You can do these really steep if you like, or shallow, whatever you're comfortable with. But you want to start off with a 10-degree angle of bank. If you overbank on these things, you don't get any vertical penetration, and it becomes basically kind of a modified split S. So let's go a little bit to your. You know what? Just stay with me. I'll just kind of show you one.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to get some extra speed here. There's your 10-degree angle right there. That's all you want. Just bring the nose up nice and steep and freeze this stick right here. And if you don't move anything, the nose will come through the horizon right on the 90-degree point. Let it speed on up. We'll recover a little bit quicker than normal because if you don't, you'll pull a lot of G's when you pull out on the bottom. Now, when you do those for the commercial, you want to line up on a section line. There's all kinds of stuff you can line up on down here, and you can roll out when you're going 180, and then you do one to the other direction. All right, you got it.
Okay.
Let me look around. There's no one around here, so let's try one. We'll go to the left. Shallow angle of bank and bring it on up.
I didn't put up any speed though.
You're fine. We can do a couple of these. And it's right here over the top. There's your stall. You can feel the stick shake. Roll it on out, bring it right on through. Ooh, 10 degrees to your right. Now when you do one of these to your right, you want to add a little right rudder over the top. Like right here, start coming in with that right rudder. Right rudder, more right rudder, more, there you go.
Full right rudder.
Perfect. Back downhill you come. Perfect. Rolling on out, bring it on up. You like those? Aren't those fun in the Stearman?
Yeah, that's all right.
If you listen to the airplane, what's great about it is you can really hear the airplane slowing down and speeding up. So you get to the point after an hour or two of flying it where you don't have to look at the airspeed indicator because you know what it's doing just by sound alone. We're here at about, what, 800 feet? Let's go up a little higher. We'll do another one. Those are great. I love those.
Okay.
But the lazy eights are fun. It approaches obviously an aerobatic maneuver, but it's certainly not considered one. It's on the commercial check ride. There you go. Hold it right here. A little bit of left rudder here. Here's going to pay off on the stall. Downhill she comes. Good. Back to your right. Shallow angle of bank. Bring it on up. There you go. Lazy 8, awesome job. Jay, you're up there smiling away. I think you like it.
Yeah, that's for sure.
That's fun.
I'd like to do some. Can we do any lower flights?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go up. Yeah, we can do anything you want. Yeah, and the low flight's actually the fun
I'd like
stuff.
to go into some of these pastures here.
There's a guy right ahead of you. There's a little ranch house. I've actually landed in his field. All this stuff out here, I've only landed in that field. That was actually nice. I've done rides out of it. But yeah, we can go down to a couple hundred feet towards the end if you want. I want to show you, before you do it, let's go up a little higher. I want to go through some slow flight stuff with you in the stall,
okay.
so you can kind of see what she does. Now, the Stearmans were actually too docile for the Army Air Corps in World War II. So they took them back to Wichita where they were originally built, and they put spin strips on the leading edges of the lower wings so that they would snap real faster, they would spin faster, and they would stall at about 60 instead of 55. Now this airplane that you're flying today does not have those. So when this thing stalls, I know they always teach us to lower the nose. When this thing stalls, just hold the stick right where it's at and watch what it does. I think you'll be amazed.
It just comes down?
It's so docile. I mean, again, it's made for an 18-year-old kid. You know, this is fine. We're here at almost 800 feet. It's very, very predictable on the stall. But go ahead and bring the power back to about 1,300. Now, a little unorthodox, but go ahead and lower the nose for me for a sec. The power's fine right there. Now, lower the nose a little bit more. Pick up the whistle of the wind in the wires. Tell me when you hear that. You hear that whistle?
Yeah, I hear
All
a
right,
whistle now.
Now, don't look at the airspeed indicator. Now, bring it back to level flight. Now, just listen to it. Just play with it.
Yeah.
Seat of the pants flying is what this airplane teaches. Bring that nose up a little bit more. You'll feel the stick. The stick start to shake. It'll start to nibble. And again, hold the stick right where it's at. Here's your stall right here. Look what it does. Yeah. The nose comes right back up. And it's just sitting here, mushing all the way down. And we'll bring the power back in, and away you go. So she's really, really nice in the stall. Nice falling leaf, by the way. That little sneeze, that's what we call the continental cough.
Doesn't just cough and quit.
No, it won't quit, but you know, if you push the power up a little bit too quick, especially if it's not really warm, it does that. If you do that on takeoff, it'll sit there and start sneezing away. But you can see what it does. You know, it's really docile in the stall. It doesn't have any tendency to fall off on a wing. It's a really, really nice, well-behaved aircraft.
Quite nose high though. You don't get much forward visibility with it.
Zippo, but you know what? When you're flying a Corsair, you ain't saying anything either, or a Mustang or any of that stuff. And so I think that's why it's really a good airplane. The other two airplanes they had back in World War II, the Ryan PT-22, they actually called that the cadet killer. The wing loading was fairly high on that, especially with two people in it. And those had a tendency to go into a stall spin on base to final.
I got an hour and a half on a B-51 about 5 years ago down at Kissimmee.
Wow.
352 knots and 5.5 G.
Whoa. That would put me to sleep.
Just about.
Now let's do a 180, and I want to show you one other thing. And if you want to take it down in the dirt, you can. I don't have a problem with that. Now, what's cool about this is we'll do one more stall, power off stall here. And what's fun about it is right above the stall, when the power is all the way retarded, you can actually start to smell exhaust fumes coming into the cockpit. So you can start to learn how to fly this thing by your sense of smell, which, to my knowledge, this might be the only airplane that you can do that with. So I'm going to bring the carb in, so gently bring the power on back, just slowly all the way back to flight idle. There you go. That's fine right there. Now, listen to it.
Yeah.
Now, start bringing the nose on up. And tell me when you smell the exhaust fumes. I can start feeling the exhaust smell right there.
Got it, yeah.
And if you look out on the lower wing, the wing's fully stalled. Look at the left side. It's all flapping around out there. And we'll bring the power back in. Now, away you go. That's why Stearmans were so popular back in World War II. That's why there's so many of them left today. They're good flying airplanes.
What are they worth on the market right now?
You know, there's at any one time, like now, you can go back home, you get on the internet, you'll find 50 or more Stearmans for sale in various configurations. Anywhere from 80 on the low side to one that's really nice, low time, I don't know, 135 or so.
Oh, yeah.
But the nice thing is you can still get new parts for these things. I can get anything shipped to me on like Monday. But if something goes wrong with this thing and I want to replace a part, I can have it here Monday.
All right, eh? Is there much maintenance on the engine?
No. You know, you got to remember, these things were designed and built to fly all day, every day. And to be just brutally treated by cadets.
Yeah, I suppose.
And so that's why I'll be honest, the airframe rarely breaks. The engine, I do 100-hour inspections on this thing. I change the oil every 25 hours, and I run this engine almost every single day. And you know what? It likes it. It wants to be run every day. It just says, fly me. If you let this thing sit, that's not what you want to do with this. So the oil consumption is about a quart every 2.5 hours. Burns 12 gallons an hour.
Show me a roll.
I don't have any chutes in this, and I can't do any acro in it.
Oh, okay.
That's coming though. But that's why we do, the Steve Lazy 8s. And I'll be honest with you, Jared, you don't really want to do a roll with me. You know why? I'm a pretty big guy, and so when you roll this thing to the left, when I roll it to the left, I don't get full stick deflection, and you're hanging upside down by a seat belt in an open cockpit plane, and that's very uncomfortable.
Okay.
But all the rest of the stuff is fun with it. Let's go down a little lower. Let's make a left-hand turn. If you go off this direction out here, nothing out there. And that's the true joy of flying a Stearman.
Yes, that's right.
Down low. Does it fly like you thought it was going to fly?
Oh, well, a little lighter. I didn't think it would be quite as light. Like it's pretty light on the control.
Yeah. There you go.
Take the controls for a second.
Okay.
I don't want to lose my hat.
No, I think you're fine. I've in all the years I've been doing this, I've only lost 2 hats. One came off a guy, wrapped himself around the wire in the back tail. I landed and gave his hat back. The other we lost for good. So now, here's what you need to know. All we got out here is there's some power lines around here, and they're at 50 feet. There's no towers. There's nothing out here.
Oh, okay.
There we go. And I believe we can find maybe some cows out here as well. 2 years ago, I flew this airplane up to Galesburg, Illinois for the national Stearman flying. There's about 100 Stearmans up there. Only one time in the 2 days it took me to get there was I above 1,000 feet. It was fun. I loved it. Looks like you're loving it too.
Oh yeah. I'm from northern Canada. I used to do a lot of bush flying, and a lot of it was down low. And we were beyond the power lines, so I didn't have to worry about it.
Exactly. Oh, you mean up there? Yeah. Well, the deal was back in World War II, you were expected to solo this thing in between 8 and 12 hours of instruction. If you could do that, they gave you 2 more hours of training. If you still could not solo the airplane, they kicked you out. But you know, to be honest with you, this thing's so easy to fly. I think if you washed out, it was because A, you couldn't handle the aerobatics, or B, you couldn't do the landing with the thing, because it's not exactly the easiest thing to land on safe in here. There we go.
I got my license in '56. It cost me $250.
Oh,
you're all under 6 hours.
You're killing me.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, the only negative on this, the engine on this airplane here, is it originally had a rear main bearing was a ball bearing, and it had a tendency to fail. And so the modification for this engine now is a roller bearing back there. And you put a roller bearing back in the rear main, it can't fail. And so this engine has that mod. And so, to be honest with you, it's a bulletproof deal. I mean, if I wanted to, I can't do it because I operate this commercially, but you could fly this engine for 1,000 hours, top it, put new cylinders on it, and fly it for another 1,000 hours, and the lower end would be fine.
All right, okay.
But I pull the engine off every 1,200 hours and have it gone through.
Oh boy, this would be a thing for flying around the country.
It'd be awesome. Several people have done that, and they've written about it. One guy, you might have read his book, Stephen Koontz, noted author, called Cannibal Queen. He had a 300 Lycoming Stearman, flew to every state in the country over the course of 2 years, and he actually went up to Canada as well. Wrote about it.
Well, ever since I watched Commander Rab on Shag, I had to fly one.
Yeah, that's a 450, and that's nice and all, but I can't afford the gas on something like that.
Well, my 310 was a hog. Well, mind you, you were moving too, but it was
Yeah.
$1,200 of fuel.
Yeah. Wow. Now, right off your right wing over here, you see there's a power plant over here? That's on the base of the lake over here. On the west side of that lake, back in World War II, there was an Army Air Corps training base over there. It's in Lakeland. It's where the Detroit Tigers have their spring training camp. It's called, the Tigers are actually still there. This was their area where the Stearmans practiced. It was from Polk City to Winter Haven to Plant City. So Stearman's here. South of us in Bartow had the Mustangs and the Harbors were there. Sebring had the B-17. At the big airport in Lakeland where the Sun and Fun Air Show is, that's Drain Field. That was called Drain Field. B-24s were there. So imagine being a kid or living around here in World War II. You see all this hardware flying over your house.
Yeah, that's what got me interested in flying. When I was young, in Manitoba, they used to, the Canadian Air Force had a program anyway for training foreign pilots. I forget the name of it. And they were using harbors.
Yeah.
And they were always doing aerobatics over our farm.
This airplane, to be honest about the aerobatics, you talk about doing aerobatics with the loops. Obviously, you have a history of doing stuff like that. It wouldn't affect you, but to do a loop in this airplane, entry speed on that is 130 miles an hour. You can look at your airspeed right now, you're going 80. So you actually have to dive this thing to get 130, and then when you're when you're going to do a loop, you have to actually commit to it, and you can't baby it. You got to yank, you got to haul the stick back, and you're going to pull 3.5 Gs. And you know, most people, if they're not pilots, they ain't going to like that. When it goes up, it slows down real quick.
Yeah, that's typical.
Yeah.
I used to carry a G-meter in my airplane, and that was the minimum for fully looped was 3.5.
Yeah. Let's climb up a little bit more. We'll go to your right. Polk City is right ahead of you. If you look off your right, you will see I-4 over there.
Yeah, I see it.
There we go. Looks good. And so Fantasy Flight is now at about the 9 o'clock over off your left. You can see it's kind of lit up by the sun. So we'll head on over that way and
That way?
to your left. Oh. See it over there?
Yeah.
There we go. The only obstacle you have actually a couple. There's a tower right ahead of you. That's 400 feet AGL. And we'll just keep climbing up to about 800. And we'll have to shoot about right-hand pattern for runway 22. So if you, actually runway 4. So if you make a left-hand turn, just follow the interstate. That'll kind of take you back to the runway.
Okay.
So JR, you like the bird, huh?
Yeah, I love it.
You know what's interesting? With all the airplanes you've flown, if you look at the bottom of the upper wing, between the ribs, you can actually see the fabric being pushed up. And if you look at the ribs between the lower wings, on the lower wings, the ribs, you can actually see the fabric being sucked up. You can actually see lift happening on the wings right now.
Yeah.
So we got a
Principle of flight.
yeah, Discovery Channel moment going on. So here's what you need to know about this thing and how it behaves in the pattern. 75 miles an hour is going to give you your pattern speed. 75 or more, and you can bring the power back to about 1750 here. And the other thing is, what you don't want to do with this airplane, you don't have any flaps, so you don't want to drag this thing in with a lot of power down low, because what will happen is the runway will absolutely disappear. So if you're a little bit high, we have 5,000 feet to deal with here. If you're a little bit high on final, that's actually a good thing, because you can drop the power, and you saw how fast this thing falls out of the sky. So just keep going this direction here, and I'll have you kind of enter a right-hand pattern from the midfield crosswind entry. Perfect way to end the day.
Oh, you got
I must say.
a DC-3 or something on?
Yeah. That's a DC-3 right alongside
Is that the one where the gal is hanging out the window?
Yeah.
Oh, this is the place. I've gone by that I-4 road there,
Yep.
and I've seen that. Now I know where I'm at. Okay.
We'll make a right-hand turn. That bluish green water tower is a nice little landmark there. Looks like we have a little bit of a sprinkling going off our left. That looks like it's probably going to come here.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I see a little rainbow. So off your right wing, you're going to see that little lake there. Once we get to the middle of that lake, we'll make our base turn. So let's make our right-hand downwind turn here. So you got her on the landing. Forgive me for telling you this. You're doing a great job. Just make sure, I always tell people, make sure your heels are on the floorboards, and so we're not on the brakes.
Okay.
And
On the forward.
yep, cool. We'll make our right base turn here. And what's nice, this thing, we'll bring it down in right above the runway. Just keep it off the ground as long as you can, and it'll just transition into a three-point attitude. It's really nice. We do have some of these power lines on the end of our runway, the high-tension guys there. Very nice. Looks like we got a little bit of a gust front on the left side of the lake over there.
Yeah, I'm looking at the water.
Nothing on the right, nothing on the not close left. Perfect. Now you can kind of see what I was talking about. You know, a little on the higher, a little obviously.
I just want to make sure I got well clear of the power lines
We
there.
are good. You're looking great. Now this thing's going to go straight down the runway. When the tail comes down, it gets kind of squirrely when it gets down to about 20 miles an hour. There we go. Nice job. Just drop the power right here. You can see our shadow coming up to meet us, and there's the landing right there. Good. Just hold it right here.
Boy, that was soft.
Now here's where it gets a little interesting. No brakes, no brakes, no brakes.
Okay.
And right here, you just kind of punch those little. There you go.
Okay.
So in my instructor, when I first went into this, he said, you know, you treat them on their landing roll, just treat the rudder pedals like a boxing match. You just punch them back to neutral.
Yeah.
Because if you start leaning on them, it swerves all over the place. Hey, great job. Nice landing.
That was. You weren't on it? Was it?
No, I was not at all.
Oh, that was nice.
JR, you earned the right to do that. I mean, you're a really good pilot.
Well, I'm 73.
Great job.
You have fun? Oh, yeah, that was perfect. That was well worth it. Yeah, I'm going to add that one to my bucket list is checked off.
Absolutely. I have a little certificate. We'll get it for you once we get you out. It's got the number of the airplane for your logbook here.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, just do your best if you can, just to stay off those brakes. You never really need those. The tail on this thing is so nice.
Okay. I didn't get a reading on the runway at the far end. Okay, there we are. We're clear.
Looking good.
Yeah, my flying career is pretty well over, so I'm trying to catch every little bit I can.
Have you looked into flying like light sport stuff, anything
Well,
like that?
I'm thinking of that.
Yeah. That's a really nice, like champs, cubs, things like that. I'll tell you what, Joe, I'll take it from here, and
Okay.
I'll put this rascal back where we found it here. You know, some of those LSAs, they're very expensive planes than the new ones, but to be honest, there's nothing wrong with a nice champ or a cub. You can get those for fairly low money. We're bringing this thing, especially if you live over at Claremont, they have a light sport training facility, and they rent them over at Apopka Airport.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, which